Hello everyone. Tonight, you're stepping back more than 1,000 years into the quiet heart of the north, where winter has already taken hold of the land. The sun has begun its slow descent behind distant hills, and the world is turning blue with cold. Snow settles softly across the ground, muffling every sound, and the air carries the faint scent of smoke long before the fire itself comes into view. You are approaching a Viking Longhouse at dusk. The structure stands low and solid against the winter wind, its thick wooden walls darkened by years of weather and smoke. The roof is heavy with sod and snow, built to endure long seasons of cold and silence. From a small opening at the top, a thin ribbon of smoke drifts upward, curling into the dim sky as if exhaling slowly. It is not a grand building, not meant to impress. It is meant to survive. As you draw closer, your footsteps crunch softly against frozen ground. The air is sharp and clean, filling your lungs with every breath. Somewhere nearby, snow slips from a roof edge and falls in a quiet rush. The world feels hushed, as if even the wind has chosen to move gently tonight. The longhouse does not glow brightly from afar. Light is precious here. Instead, a muted warmth seeps from narrow openings and cracks between heavy wooden planks. It is enough to promise shelter, enough to promise rest. You pause for a moment before entering. Behind you, the winter stretches endlessly, pale, still, and unforgiving. Ahead of you waits warmth, smoke, and the steady presence of others who have already gathered inside. The contrast is unmistakable. Outside, the cold presses in from every direction. Inside, life endures. You step forward. The door is thick, heavy, and worn smooth by countless hands. As it opens, a breath of warm air rolls outward, carrying with it the scent of burning wood, cooked food, and wool dampened by melted snow. The sound of the wind fades, replaced by the quiet, living hush of the longhouse. Inside, the fire glows low and steady. The flames sit at the center of the room, contained by stones darkened from years of use. Their light dances across timber beams and rough-hewn walls, stretch in shadows upward until they disappear into the smoke-darkened ceiling. The air is warm, but not stifling, filled with a comforting crackle of embers and the soft murmur of movement. This is the heart of the home. Around the fire, the longhouse unfolds in gentle layers. Wooden benches line the walls, covered with furs and woven blankets. Tools hang from pegs, where they are always within reach. Everyday objects rest exactly where they are needed, not arranged for beauty, but for habit and survival. Everything here has its place. The fire is not roaring. It does not need to. It burns steadily, carefully tended, offering warmth without waste. Someone has clearly spent the day feeding it just enough to last through the night. In winter, the fire is never allowed to die completely. To do so would mean cold, discomfort, and risk. You can feel the warmth settling into you already, easing the stiffness from your hands and shoulders. The kind of warmth that doesn't rush, but slowly returns, feeling to fingers and toes. The air smells of pine smoke, wool, and something faintly savory. A stew, perhaps, left to simmer earlier in the evening. Even now, long after the meal has been eaten, the scent lingers, clinging to the walls, like a memory. The people of the longhouse move quietly, accustomed to sharing this space. There is no need for raised voices. Everyone knows where to step, where to sit, how to pass by without disturbance. It is the kind of closeness that comes from long winters spent together, season after season. Someone shifts a log in the fire, and sparks rise briefly before settling again. Another adjusts a blanket closer to the flames. A soft cough echoes once, then fades. There is no rush here. Time moves differently in winter, especially as night approaches. Tasks slow. Movements become deliberate. The outside world grows distant, as if the longhouse itself forms a small island of warmth in a sea of cold. You find a place near the fire, close enough to feel its comfort, but not so near that the heat overwhelms you. The floor beneath you is hard-packed earth, worn smooth by years of footsteps. A thick hide has been laid nearby, its surface softened by use. As you settle in, the longhouse creaks gently around you. The sound is familiar, reassuring. Wood contracting in the cold, beams adjusting as the temperature shifts. The building breathes, just as its people do. Somewhere, a child stirs, shifting closer to a parent. A quiet murmur follows, more comforting than words. The fire pops softly in response, as if acknowledging the movement. There is a strange comfort in knowing that this scene has played out countless times before. Long before this evening, long before this winter. The same firelight, the same quiet gathering, the same waiting for night to fully arrive. Outside, darkness settles in. Fully now. The last traces of daylight fade from the sky, replaced by deep blue and silver. Snow continues to fall, but here inside, it feels distant and harmless. The longhouse has done its job. It has taken in everyone who needs shelter. It has held back the cold. It has gathered warmth, sound, and life beneath its roof. And for a moment, there is nothing else to do. No journeys to make, no labor to finish, no battles to fight. Only the simple act of being warm, together, as the night begins its slow descent. The fire crackles again, sending a gentle wave of heat across the room. Someone shifts closer, perhaps without even realizing it. Another leans back against the wall, eyes heavy, comforted by the steady rhythm of the evening. Winter may be long, the nights may be dark, but here, within these walls, there is rest. And as the longhouse settles into its evening quiet, the world beyond fades away, leaving only the fire, the warmth, and the slow promise of sleep. Now, entering the warmth of the fire, you step fully inside the longhouse, and the door closes behind you with a soft, solid sound. The cold does not follow you in. For a moment, you simply stand there, allowing the warmth to reach you. It does not rush. It never does. Instead, it moves slowly, patiently, seeping into your hands, your face, your chest. The contrast between the winter air outside and the heat within feels almost unreal, as if you have crossed from one world into another. The fire crackles at the center of the room. Its light is low and steady, not bright, not fierce. It glows in shades of amber and gold, shifting gently as the logs settle. Shadows stretch and sway along the timber walls, rising and falling like slow, moving waves. Every surface seems touched by firelight. The beams above, the rough wooden posts, the worn floor beneath your feet. The scent of smoke hangs in the air, soft and familiar. It clings to everything here. Clothing, hair, wood, even breath itself. Beneath it, you catch hints of cooked food, of dried herbs, of something warm and hearty prepared earlier in the evening. The smells blend together into something comforting, something that speaks of routine and survival and home. You take another step forward. The longhouse feels larger from the inside than it did from without. The ceiling arches gently overhead, supported by thick beams, darkened by years of smoke. The walls curve slightly, shaped not by design but by tradition, built this way because it works, because it endures. There is no wasted space here. Everything has a purpose. Along the sides of the room, low benches rest against the walls, covered in furs and woven cloth. Some are neatly folded, others are rumpled, showing where someone has already settled in for the night. A few personal items lie nearby: a cup carved from horn, a small pouch, a simple tool placed where it can be found again without searching. Nothing is decorative for its own sake, and yet everything feels right. The fire sits at the heart of the longhouse, both physically and in spirit. It is not enclosed by a hearth as it might be in later centuries. Instead, it burns openly, watched and tended with care. Smoke rises toward a small opening above, drifting upward in lazy spirals before slipping out into the night. Every so often, a log shifts. Embers glow brighter for a moment, then settle again. The sound is soft, rhythmic, almost breathing. You move closer, feeling the warmth grow stronger with each step. It wraps around you slowly, easing the stiffness from your limbs. The chill that clung to you outside loosens its grip, retreating inch by inch. Nearby, someone adjusts a piece of wood with a long stick, careful not to disturb the balance of the fire. They do this without thought, guided by habit rather than intention. In winter, tending the fire is as natural as breathing. The longhouse is alive with small, quiet sounds. A soft scrape as someone shifts their weight on a bench. The faint rustle of fabric. The low murmur of voices, not speaking words so much as sharing presence. The gentle crack of wood as the fire settles deeper into itself. Nothing is hurried. There is no need. This is the hour when the day releases its hold. Work is finished. The cold has been kept at bay. What remains is the simple act of being here. You take a seat near the fire, close enough to feel its warmth, but not so close that it overwhelms you. The heat is steady, constant, reliable. It seeps through layers of clothing and into your bones, loosening muscles you didn't realize were tense. The floor beneath you is firm and cool, packed hard by years of use. A thick hide has been laid nearby, its surface worn smooth. When you rest against it, it yields just enough to be comfortable. The longhouse smells of many things at once. Smoke, yes, but also wood, wool, leather, and faint traces of food long since eaten. These scents are layered, built up over seasons and years, creating an atmosphere that feels lived in, grounded, real. It is not unpleasant. It is familiar. Someone nearby stirs the remains of a pot hanging above the fire, checking that nothing has been left to burn. The contents bubble softly, releasing another wave of warmth into the air. Even if the meal is finished, the fire continues its work, maintaining the fragile comfort that keeps winter at bay. There is an unspoken understanding here. The fire comes first. Everything else waits. Your eyes follow the movement of the flames as they flicker against the wood. The light shifts constantly, never still, yet never chaotic. It is easy to lose track of time watching it, easy to let your thoughts slow and drift. In the longhouse, time does not rush forward. It stretches, it settles. It moves at the pace of breath and fire and fading daylight. Somewhere behind you, a quiet laugh rises and falls. It is brief, subdued, quickly absorbed back into the hush of the room. Even laughter, here, seems to respect the calm. A child shifts closer to the warmth, instinctively drawn to the fire's glow. a parent gently adjusts a blanket without a word. The movement is small, almost invisible, but full of care. There's a comfort in this closeness. The longhouse is not large, and privacy is rare. Yet in this shared space, no one seems to mind. The closeness brings safety. It means warmth is shared. It means no one faces the cold alone. You become aware of the subtle rhythm of the space, the way people breathe, the way the fire pulses, the way shadows stretch and retreat. It is a quiet rhythm, steady and unhurried, like the slow turning of the seasons themselves. Outside, the wind may rise, snow may continue to fall, but inside, the world feels held in place. You shift slightly, finding a more comfortable position. The fire responds with a gentle crackle, as if acknowledging the movement. A spark leaps briefly upward, then disappears. The light softens. The longhouse grows quieter still as evening deepens. Conversations fade into murmurs, then into silence. Not an awkward silence, but a peaceful one. The kind that settles naturally when nothing more needs to be said. The warmth has done its work. Your breathing slows, matching the easy rhythm of the room. The cold feels distant now, like a memory rather than a threat. The fire's glow reflects softly on the walls, turning rough timber into something almost gentle. In this moment, there is nothing to prepare for and nothing to fear. Only the fire, only the warmth, only the quiet comfort of being inside while winter waits beyond the walls. And as the longhouse settles deeper into its evening calm, the world narrows to the steady glow before you and the simple, enduring warmth of the hearth. Now the life around the hearth. The fire remains at the center of everything. It always does. As the evening deepens, the longhouse seems to slowly turn inward, gathering itself around the warmth at its heart. The flames burn low and steady, not demanding attention, yet quietly guiding the rhythm of the space. Every movement, every task, every pause seems to orbit around that glowing circle of light. This is how life unfolds here, not in haste, not in noise, but in small, purposeful actions repeated night after night. Someone rises from their place near the wall and moves toward the fire, carrying a small bundle of tools wrapped in cloth. They settle near the light, where hands can see clearly without straining. A blade is drawn, inspected, then set carefully against a stone. The sound of sharpening begins, slow and even, a soft rasp that blends easily with the crackle of the flames. It is not hurried work. The blade does not need to be perfect tonight. It only needs to be ready for tomorrow. The person sharpening it knows this, and so the motion remains unhurried, almost meditative. The rhythm of stone against metal becomes part of the evening's quiet music. Nearby, someone else tends to a piece of wood, trimming it carefully, shaping it into something useful. The shavings fall gently to the floor, gathering in a small pile that will later find its way back to the fire. Nothing here is wasted. Even the smallest remnants have a purpose. Across the room, a pot hangs just above the flames, suspended from a simple hook. It no longer boils as it did earlier, but the contents remain warm, releasing the faint scent of herbs and cooked grain. The meal has passed, yet its presence lingers, a reminder that the day's work has been done. From time to time, someone leans forward to stir the pot or shift the embers beneath it, ensuring the fire stays even. The motion is practiced, almost unconscious. No one needs to instruct them. These gestures have been learned over years, passed quietly from one person to the next. The hearth is more than a source of heat. It is where food is prepared, tools are mended, stories are remembered, and silence is shared. It is where the day ends and the night begins. A soft murmur of conversation drifts through the longhouse. The words are low, unhurried, sometimes fading into nothing at all. No one feels the need to fill the space. Silence here is not empty. It is comfortable, familiar, earned. A brief chuckle rises from one corner, subdued, quickly softened, as if even laughter knows not to disturb the calm. Perhaps someone has remembered a small mistake from earlier in the day. Perhaps a tool slipped, or a task took longer than expected. These moments are acknowledged gently, without judgment. After all, winter allows for little impatience. Near the fire, hands move steadily over fabric. A tear in a garment is repaired with careful stitches, thread pulled slowly through worn cloth. The work is quiet, precise, and unremarkable. Yet it is exactly this kind of work that keeps the cold at bay. Every stitch matters. A child sits close to the warmth, legs tucked beneath them, watching the fire with heavy-lidded eyes. The flames reflect softly in their gaze, rising and falling in patterns that seem almost hypnotic. They shift occasionally, drawn closer by instinct, only to be gently nudged back by an adult who knows the heat can bite if one lingers too near. There's a subtle humor in this, the eternal dance between warmth and caution. The fire offers comfort, but it also demands respect. Everyone here has learned that lesson early. Further down the bench, someone works on a small object, turning it slowly in their hands. It might become a handle, or a tool, or something else entirely. The exact purpose does not seem urgent. What matters is the motion, the familiarity, the sense of usefulness, even in rest. The longhouse breathes around you. The sound of the fire rises and falls. The wind presses softly against the walls, unable to find its way inside. The roof creaks faintly as it adjusts to the cold, but it holds firm, just as it always has. There is comfort in this predictability. No one here expects the night to bring surprises. Winter has taught them that endurance matters more than excitement. The longhouse offers shelter not just from the cold, but from uncertainty. As time passes, movements slow further. Tools are set aside. Tasks are completed or quietly postponed until morning. One by one, people settle back into their places, drawing cloaks and blankets closer. The fire is fed once more, carefully, so it will last through the night. A larger log is placed just so, angled to burn slowly rather than brightly. The flames respond with a soft flare, then settle again. Someone watches the fire for a moment longer than necessary, as if listening to it. Then they nod, satisfied, and return to their place. The air grows still. In the soft light, faces relax. Lines of concentration fade, shoulders lower. Breathing becomes slower, deeper. The long day has left its mark, but it has also brought a sense of completion. This is the hour when stories are sometimes told, not loudly, not with drama, but in low voices meant only for those nearby. Tales of past winters, of long journeys, of ancestors who endured harder seasons than this one. The stories are familiar, repeated often, yet they never lose their meaning. They remind everyone why they endure. The fire listens as well, crackling softly in reply. Outside, the world is silent beneath snow. Inside, life continues in its quiet, steady way. The hearth glows, casting long shadows that sway gently across the walls. The smell of smoke and warmth wraps around the room like a blanket. There is no urgency here, only the slow, comforting passage of time. Someone shifts their weight, settling more deeply into the furs beneath them. Another lets their head rest briefly against the wall, eyes closed but not yet asleep. The firelight flickers across their face, softening every line. In this moment, the Longhouse feels timeless. It could be any winter, any year. The rhythm would be the same. The fire would still burn. The people would still gather. The night would still come. And in the center of it all, the hearth would remain. Steady, patient, enduring. As the evening deepens, conversation fades entirely. The Longhouse does not fall silent all at once. Instead, sound drains away gradually, like water slipping back into the earth. Only the fire remains. Its glow pulses gently, casting warmth into every corner. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, offering comfort to those who sit near it. And as the warmth settles deeper into the bones and the body grows heavy with rest, the Longhouse holds everyone in quiet stillness, ready for the long night ahead. The fire continues to burn low and steady, its glow spreading outward in a gentle circle of warmth. Around it, life moves at an unhurried pace. In winter, food is never rushed. It cannot be. Every meal represents effort, weeks of preparation, months of planning, seasons of care. Nothing here appears by chance. Everything has been saved, stored, dried, or preserved with intention. Near the hearth, a pot hangs from an iron hook. It sways slightly as the air shifts, its contents warming slowly. There is no rush to bring it to a boil. The heat is kept low, steady, just enough to coax flavor and warmth from what has already been gathered. Inside the pot, simple ingredients rest together, grains softened by time, root vegetables pulled from storage, bits of dried meat saved from earlier in the year. Nothing extravagant, nothing wasted. The smell is gentle but grounding, earthy, comforting, familiar. Someone stirs the pot with a long wooden spoon, careful not to splash. The motion is slow, almost rhythmic. Each turn releases another wave of warmth into the air. The steam rises quietly, drifting upward before disappearing into the smoke-darkened rafters. This is not cooking for pleasure. This is cooking for survival. And yet, there is care in it. Pride even. The pot is watched closely, adjusted as needed, tasted sparingly. The person tending it knows how much heat it can take, how long it should sit, when it will be ready. These are skills learned over many winters, passed down without ceremony. Nearby, a loaf of dark bread rests on a wooden board. Its crust is thick, its shape uneven. It is not soft, not fresh, but it will fill the stomach, and that is what matters. A knife lies beside it, blade worn smooth from years of use. When the time comes, the bread will be cut carefully. No thick slices, no excess. Just enough. Food here is shared with quiet understanding. A ladle dips into the pot and lifts slowly, allowing the contents to settle before being poured into a waiting bowl. The steam curls upward, carrying the scent of warmth. The bowl is passed carefully, hands cupping its sides, grateful for the heat. One by one, others receive their portion. There is no rush to eat. The meal is taken slowly, deliberately. Each mouthful is warm, steadying. It spreads heat through the body, easing the chill that clings even indoors during winter. The sounds of eating are soft, the scrape of a spoon, the quiet breath between bites. Conversation is minimal. Eating demands attention. It is a moment to focus on nourishment, to feel the warmth move inward. Somewhere nearby, a small container of dried berries is opened. Only a few are added to a bowl, more for comfort than for sustenance. Their sweetness lingers on the tongue, a reminder of warmer seasons long past. Winter does not allow indulgence, but it does allow appreciation. A drink is passed around, warm, slightly bitter, brewed from herbs and grains. It is not strong, not meant to intoxicate, but to warm the body and settle the stomach. Each sip is taken slowly, the cup held close for as long as possible before being passed along. Hands linger over the warmth. As the meal continues, the fire is tended with care. A small log is added, then another, never too much. The goal is not brightness, but longevity. A fire that burns too hot consumes fuel too quickly. A fire that burns steadily lasts the night. This balance between warmth and restraint defines winter life. Every action here reflects it. Food is eaten slowly. Heat is used sparingly. Energy is conserved. Movements are efficient, purposeful. Nothing is done without reason. And yet, there is comfort in the simplicity. The routine itself becomes soothing. As bowls are emptied, they are set aside, wiped clean with cloths already worn thin from use. Nothing is left to waste. Even scraps will find purpose later, perhaps added to another meal, perhaps given to animals, perhaps returned to the earth. The longhouse settles into a quieter rhythm once more. The warmth from the meal spreads through the room, mixing with the heat of the fire. Shoulders relax, postures soften. The strain of the day fades, replaced by a gentle heaviness that signals rest. Someone leans back against the wall, eyes half closed. Another stretches slowly, careful not to disturb those nearby. The fire crackles softly, as if acknowledging the moment. This is the reward for the day's labor. Not abundance, not luxury, but steadiness, the knowledge that there is enough, that tonight at least, hunger has been answered, that the cold has been kept outside, that the fire still burns. The longhouse holds this feeling gently. Outside, the wind may rise, snow may fall thicker, the night may grow colder still, but inside, there is warmth in repetition, in shared effort, in knowing what must be done and doing it together. The firelight flickers across faces, softening features, smoothing away the marks of fatigue. The shadows stretch long across the floor, then retreat again. Time seems to slow even further. There is no urgency now, no task pressing. The most important work of the day, eating, warming, resting, has been done. The body recognizes this. Breathing deepens, muscles loosen, eyes grow heavy. Someone adds one final piece of wood to the fire, adjusting it carefully so it will burn through the night. They pause for a moment, watching the flames respond, then step back with quiet satisfaction. The longhouse grows still. In the gentle hush, the meaning of food becomes clear. It is not simply nourishment. It is reassurance. It is continuity. It is the promise that tomorrow, when the cold returns, there will be strength to meet it. For now, that is enough. The fire glows low and steady. The warmth lingers. The night deepens. And within the shelter of the longhouse, life slows to a peaceful, enduring rhythm. One meal, one breath, one quiet moment at a time. As the fire settles into a steady, glowing rhythm, the longhouse grows quieter still. The work of the day has faded into memory. The meal has been eaten. The cold has been kept at bay. What remains now is something softer, a space between waking and sleep, where voices lower and thoughts drift more freely. This is the hour for stories, not the loud kind, not the kind meant to impress or entertain. These are stories spoken softly, almost as if they are being remembered rather than told. Stories that live close to the heart, shaped by repetition and time. The fire flickers gently, casting slow-moving shadows across the walls. The light dances over faces, revealing lines earned through years of weather and work. Eyes catch the glow, reflecting it briefly before drifting back into the quiet. Someone clears their throat, not to command attention, but simply to speak. The voice that follows is low and calm, worn smooth by age and familiarity. It carries easily in the still air of the longhouse, needing no effort to be heard. The words come slowly, carefully chosen, as though the speaker knows there is no need to rush. The story is an old one. It has been told many times before, in many winters, just like this. It speaks of long journeys across frozen land, of storms weathered and darkness endured, of nights much colder than this one, when survival depended on courage, patience, and the steady burning of a single fire. The tale unfolds without drama. There are no grand gestures, no raised voices. The power of it lies in its steadiness, in the way it reminds everyone listening that they are part of something older than themselves. The old gods are mentioned, but not with ceremony. Their names are spoken softly, almost casually, as one might mention an old friend or a familiar presence. They are part of the world here, in the wind, in the fire, in the turning of the seasons. They do not demand attention. They simply exist. A pause follows a line of the story, not because it has ended, but because the speaker is allowing the moment to settle. No one interrupts. No one feels the need to fill the space. Silence, here, is a companion rather than an absence. The fire responds with a gentle crackle, as if acknowledging the tale. A child leans closer to the warmth, eyes heavy, but attentive. Their head rests against a parent's side, comforted by the sound of a familiar voice and the steady presence of others nearby. Even if the words are not fully understood, the feeling is. That is enough. Another voice joins in briefly, adding a detail, correcting a memory, or gently teasing the first speaker about a forgotten part of the tale. The exchange is quiet, warm, affectionate. A faint smile passes between them. There is a certain humor in these moments. Not laughter, but recognition. The understanding that stories change slightly each time they are told. That memories soften around the edges. That truth and tradition often blend together in the firelight. No one minds. Stories are not meant to be perfect. They are meant to be shared. The longhouse listens. Outside, the wind shifts against the walls, sending a low murmur through the timbers. Inside, the sound is barely noticed. The structure has endured countless storms like this one. It stands firm, grounded, patient. The story continues. It speaks of winters when food ran thin, when storms closed paths for days at a time, when survival depended not on strength alone, but on cooperation. Of neighbors sharing what little they had, of families gathering together in one place for warmth. The message is never spoken outright, yet everyone understands it. Togetherness is survival. The firelight flickers again, and someone reaches forward to adjust a log that has shifted. The flames brighten briefly, casting long shadows across the room. For a moment, the longhouse seems to breathe in, then out, settling once more. The storyteller's voice grows quieter, slower. The words stretch out, drifting lazily through the air. Some listeners close their eyes, following along without effort. Others stare into the fire, watching shapes form and fade in the embers. There is comfort in knowing what comes next. After the story, there will be silence. After silence, rest. After rest, another day. The thought is reassuring. Beliefs linger in the air like smoke, not heavy, not oppressive, but present. The idea that the world is shaped by forces both seen and unseen. That winter is not an enemy, but a season to be endured. That warmth, once found, must be cherished. Someone murmurs a quiet acknowledgement to the old gods, more habit than ritual. It is not a prayer in the formal sense, more like a nod of respect, a recognition of the balance that governs life here. The fire answers with a soft crackle. Gradually, the story comes to its end. Not with a conclusion, but with a gentle tapering off, as if the words themselves have grown tired. The speaker falls silent, and no one rushes to speak next. The silence that follows is full and peaceful. Breathing slows, bodies relax further. The longhouse seems to lean inward, drawing everyone closer to the warmth at its center. Someone shifts position, careful not to disturb the others. Another pulls a cloak more tightly around their shoulders. The movements are small, thoughtful, practiced. The night has deepened. The fire burns lower now, its light softer, its warmth steady. Shadows cling to the corners of the room, unmoving. Outside, the snow continues its quiet fall, unnoticed and unchallenged. Inside, the world feels contained, complete. The stories have done their work. They have reminded everyone of who they are, where they come from, and how they endure. They have filled the space with meaning, then gently stepped aside to let rest take over. The longhouse grows still. Only the fire remains awake, watching over those gathered around it, holding back the cold as it always has. And as voices fade and thoughts drift, the night settles fully into place, calm, steady, and unhurried. Now, the night settles over the settlement. The wind rises quietly at first. It slips across the snow-covered ground outside the longhouse, brushing against the walls with a soft, steady breath. It is not a violent wind, not one that howls or demands attention. It moves patiently, circling the structure, testing the edges of wood and earth, then drifting onward into the dark. Inside, the change is barely noticeable. The fire has begun to dim, its flames lower now, glowing more than burning. The logs shift slightly as embers settle inward, their light softening into deeper shades of amber and red. Shadows grow longer, stretching across the floor and climbing slowly up the walls. The longhouse responds in kind. Movements grow fewer, sounds fade. The gentle murmur of earlier conversations gives way to quiet breathing and the faint crackle of dying flames. The warmth remains, but it has softened, becoming less intense, more enveloping. This is the hour when the night takes hold. Outside, the settlement rests beneath a heavy blanket of snow. Roofs disappear into darkness. Pathways vanish beneath pale drifts. The world beyond the longhouse grows indistinct, as if the land itself has chosen to sleep. Inside, the same slow transformation unfolds. Someone rises quietly to tend the fire one last time. They move carefully, mindful of those already resting. A single piece of wood is added, not too large, not too small. Placed with intention, so it will burn slowly through the night. The fire responds with a soft glow, then settles again. Satisfied, the figure steps back, their task complete. They pause for a moment, watching the flames, ensuring everything is as it should be. Then they return to their place without a word. The longhouse seems to exhale. One by one, bodies shift into more restful positions. Cloaks are drawn closer. Furs are adjusted. Heads find familiar places to rest. The sounds of movement are gentle, unhurried, shaped by long habit. No one rushes sleep. It comes naturally, as it always does, arriving quietly rather than being summoned. The air inside the longhouse feels heavier now, thick with warmth and smoke and the scent of wood. It presses softly against the skin, wrapping everyone in a sense of enclosure and safety. The fire's light flickers lazily, no longer bright enough to illuminate faces clearly. Features blur into shadow. Shapes soften. The world becomes simpler. A child stirs, murmuring briefly before settling again. A hand rests gently on their back, steady and reassuring. The movement is automatic, born of countless nights just like this one. Somewhere near the wall, a quiet sigh escapes someone drifting towards sleep. It is answered by the slow rhythm of breathing nearby. The longhouse seems to breathe along with them, rising and falling in time. Outside, the wind picks up slightly, sending a faint whisper through the cracks in the walls. The sound is distant, muted, no threat at all. The longhouse holds firm, as it always has. Snow continues to fall. It drifts softly from the dark sky, layering itself over the land, smoothing edges, quieting the world. By morning, it will erase footprints and soften paths, leaving everything hushed and still. But for now, night reigns. Inside, the fire burns low, its glow barely more than a pulse of warmth in the center of the room. Shadows stretch and merge until they are indistinguishable from one another. The space feels smaller, cozier, drawn inward. This is the hour when thoughts slow. The concerns of the day lose their weight. The work that must be done tomorrow can wait. There is nothing left to decide, nothing left to prepare. The night has claimed its place, and with it comes rest. The longhouse accepts this without resistance. Its beams creak softly as the temperature drops. The roof settles. The walls hold firm against the cold. Every sound is familiar, expected, almost comforting in its predictability. Even the fire seems to understand the moment. Its flames sink lower, glowing rather than dancing, conserving their strength for the long hours ahead. The light they give off is enough, just enough, to push back the darkness without disturbing the peace. The air grows still. Breathing becomes slow and even. Muscles loosen. Minds drift away from the concerns of waking life. One by one, those gathered inside slip into sleep, carried by the warmth and quiet. The longhouse watches over them all. It has done this countless times before, sheltering, protecting, enduring. It stands as a barrier between life and the cold beyond, a silent guardian through the long northern nights. Outside, the wind continues its slow passage across the land. Inside, only the fire remains awake. Its embers glow softly, pulsing with a steady rhythm, as if echoing the heartbeat of the longhouse itself. The warmth it provides lingers in the air, wrapping every sleeping form in comfort. The night deepens, the world grows quiet, and within the shelter of wood and flame, rest finally takes hold. The night has fully arrived. Inside the longhouse, the world has narrowed to warmth, shadow, and breath. The fire has been reduced to a steady bed of embers, glowing softly at the center of the room. Its light no longer reaches far, but it does not need to. It gives just enough warmth to carry everyone through the dark hours. The longhouse is quiet now, not silent, never silent, but filled with the gentle sounds of rest, slow breathing, the faint shift of a blanket, The occasional soft creak of wood as the structure settles into the cold. Furs have been spread across the benches and floor, layered carefully for warmth. Thick hides, worn smooth from years of use, hold the day's remaining heat close. Cloaks are folded and pulled close to the body. Sleeves are tucked in. Hoods are drawn up. Here, sleep is a shared thing. No one sleeps alone, not truly. Bodies rest near one another, close enough that warmth can be felt, close enough that a movement or a breath is reassuring rather than startling. The presence of others brings comfort, a quiet reminder that the night is being endured together. The fire watches over them all. Though it burns low, it is never allowed to go out completely. Someone has taken responsibility for it tonight, though who, exactly, no longer matters. The role shifts naturally from one night to the next. A log is added when needed. An ember is nudged back into place. Even now, in the deepest hours of rest, the fire is tended. Its glow pulses faintly, casting slow shadows across the beams overhead. The smoke drifts upward in a thin, lazy line, slipping through the opening above and disappearing into the night. The warmth it provides is subtle, steady. It does not demand attention. It simply exists. Breathing deepens across the longhouse. One person exhales slowly, their breath rising and falling in a calm rhythm. Another shifts slightly, pulling a fur closer around their shoulders. A quiet murmur escapes someone in sleep, then fades again. There is no urgency in any of it. The longhouse feels heavy with rest, as though the very air has settled into stillness. Outside, the wind moves across the snow-covered ground, but its sound is softened by thick walls and drifting snow. What might be harsh beyond the shelter becomes only a distant whisper here. The cold is kept out. That knowledge alone brings comfort. The longhouse has stood through many winters. Its walls have known storms far worse than this one. Its beams have endured long nights and bitter cold before. There is trust in that endurance, a quiet faith in the shelter it provides. Inside, sleep deepens. A child stirs briefly, then settles again, soothed by the warmth and the familiar presence nearby. A hand rests protectively against their back, rising and falling with slow breaths. Somewhere, a sleeper shifts closer to the fire, drawn unconsciously toward its warmth. The movement is small, careful, practiced. The longhouse allows it. The air is thick with the scent of smoke and wool, of wood and earth. It clings gently to everything, wrapping the space in familiarity. The scent itself feels like part of the structure, inseparable from the walls and beams. Time loses meaning here. There are no hours to count, no bells to mark the passing night. There is only the slow rhythm of rest, the steady breathing of those gathered together, the soft glow of embers that never quite fade. The fire gives a quiet crackle. A single ember shifts, releasing a brief spark of light before settling again. No one stirs. The sound is too familiar to cause alarm. It is simply part of the night's language. The longhouse listens. It listens to the breathing, to the wind, to the fire. It holds all of it within its walls, offering protection without demand. Outside, the snow continues to fall, layering the world in silence. Inside, warmth lingers, held close by bodies and flame alike. The contrast is gentle, reassuring. Here, in the dark, surrounded by others, sleep comes easily. Muscles relax. Thoughts fade. The mind drifts without effort. The day's concerns dissolve into the quiet hum of rest. The longhouse seems to lean inward, as if gathering everyone into its center. The walls creak softly, adjusting to the cold. The roof holds firm. Everything is as it should be. The fire burns low, but it does not go out. It remains, a small, steady heart of warmth in the darkness, and beneath its watchful glow, the longhouse sleeps. The night holds steady outside the longhouse. Snow continues to fall, slow and patient, settling layer by layer across the land. It covers paths, softens edges, and quiets the world until everything feels distant and hushed. The wind moves through the dark with less urgency now, as if even it has grown tired. Inside, the longhouse remains still. The fire has burned low, its flames reduced to a bed of glowing embers. They pulse faintly, offering warmth without light, heat without sound. The air is thick with calm, heavy with rest. This is the heart of winter, not the storm, not the cold, not the struggle, but the endurance that comes after. The long stretch of nights when patience becomes a way of living, when routine becomes a form of strength. Here, survival is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is waking each day and tending the fire. It is sharing food without excess. It is repairing what is worn instead of replacing it. It is resting when rest is needed and working only when the light allows. The people of the Longhouse understand this rhythm well. They have learned that winter cannot be rushed. It cannot be fought. It must be met with steadiness, with care, with the knowledge that it will pass in its own time. And so they endure, not with force, but with patience. Inside the Longhouse, bodies rest close together, sharing warmth without words. The air rises and falls with their breathing, slow and even. The sounds of the night have softened to almost nothing. The fire gives a gentle glow, barely more than a heartbeat now. Yet it is enough. It always has been. The walls of the Longhouse creak quietly as the temperature shifts. The wood contracts in the cold, then settles again. The sound is familiar, comforting. It has been heard 1,000 times before, across countless winters. There is comfort in knowing what these sounds mean. They mean the structure still stands. They mean the fire still lives. They mean the night is passing as it should. Somewhere beneath the firs, someone turns slightly in their sleep. A breath catches, then steadies. A hand curls instinctively, seeking warmth, and finds it. No one wakes. There is no need to. Outside, the world feels vast and silent. Snow blankets the earth, muffling every sound. Trees stand motionless, their branches heavy with white. The sky stretches endlessly above, dark and deep. But here, within the Longhouse, there is no vastness. There is only closeness. Only the shared warmth of bodies and breath. Only the quiet knowledge that this place, for this night, is safe. The Longhouse has seen many winters. It has sheltered generations. It has heard laughter and grief, stories and silence. It has held life in all its ordinary moments. Meals, sleep, quiet conversation, long hours of waiting. And it stands still, unchanged, as another night passes beneath its roof. The people inside trust it. They trust the walls to hold. They trust the fire to last. They trust the morning to come. This trust is not blind. It has been earned, season by season, night by night. The fire shifts again, settling deeper into itself. A final ember flares softly, then dims. The warmth lingers, steady and reliable. The Longhouse breathes. Time drifts. Thoughts fade. The night deepens, but it does not feel threatening. It feels complete, whole, as if everything has finally fallen into its proper place. Outside, snow continues to fall, layer upon layer, reshaping the world in silence. Inside, sleep holds steady. There is nothing left to do, Nothing left to prepare, nothing left to worry over. Only rest, only warmth, only the slow passage of night. And so the long winter continues, not with hardship, but with quiet endurance, with routine, with patience, with the steady belief that light will return, as it always does. The fire has faded to embers now. Its glow is soft, barely more than a gentle pulse of warmth at the center of the longhouse. The flames no longer rise or dance. They simply exist, steady and calm, holding the night at bay. Outside, snow falls without sound. It settles on rooftops and paths, on fields and forests, covering everything in stillness. The world is quiet beneath its weight, as though wrapped in sleep itself. Inside, the longhouse rests. Breathing is slow, even, untroubled. The fire gives one last gentle crackle, then settles again. Its light dims further, but it does not disappear. It remains faithful and patient, waiting for morning. The walls stand firm. The roof holds strong. The night passes quietly, and within the shelter of wood and warmth, surrounded by the soft presence of others, you rest. The cold stays outside. The fire stays near. The longhouse holds steady. Snow continues to fall beyond the walls. The embers glow softly in the dark, and all is well. The longhouse sleeps, and so do you. Good night.